allow us to take a trip back in time to a point where a player's ambition for more and attention began to prosper. The focus of this prosperity is upon one A773529. Once upon a time, our numerical entity here had rose to become a very unique tactician in the Pride of Festoon's ranks. One we see a lot, and one that has a very good fondness for capture the flag. And, well, how can you blame him? It's good game mode. The Pride of Festoon's ranks became mutually solid with a number of overpowered players that were playing for them at the said time of this. And in understanding and realizing this inability of continual growth, or vast continual growth in a short amount of time, in order to have skill level or have a skill level upon the same ranks as those that he plays alongside, a sense of dissatisfaction came. Even amidst thinking outside the box, a sense of dissatisfaction and melancholy did begin to gradually settle in with our friend here. Venting said opinion and specific perspective about the growth of Pride of Festoon to Pride of Festoon's founding commander at said time, one Ethan Liam 22. Ethan's disposition did not falter as he continued the rise of Pride of Festoon's next edifice. And while A77 did respect Ethan's choice to continue the prosperity of the Festoon, he still intended to seek a different path. His next option here at this point was to leave Pride of Festoon respectively and request an opportunity to join another clan that he sought had equal amount of potential as the Festoon later down the road. This was one Terrain Adaptive Combat Terrestrials, also known as TACT. His request to join came upon clan founders Arganera, or TACT Jazz, Skull Spectre, and one Rodimus Prime 86. Upon receiving the news of this request, I left counsel to Arg and Skull to determine this possible opportunity for him as well as for the group. Rodimus, myself, I sought a counsel at that time with Ethan to determine the pros and cons of said pending prosperity for this one player, and I did want to give A77 a good opportunity to be a part of something really good that he was also a part of in the clan that he's a part of now, that will soon to be of past. A specific pro and a specific con of this one player was brought to my attention by Ethan that was of a high note, as this is something I have not usually seen in other clan members that defect from one clan to join our clan. And that was A77's ambition for success. And it was stated to me almost as a warning. Even though he's a good player and he does a good deal working together as a team, his strive and general ambition are far stronger than his actual skills. And in doing so, he will seek out all the necessary means there is to assess a situation properly, be it in positive or negative taste. Be mindful of this. And his group-based perspective and observation I did heed, as the council's ideal was settled, and A773529 would, at the end of that said week, be an official TACT player, and we would play in our first match at that time as a team, which was against Darkmount Gaming Incorporated and its respective founder, Straxus Prime. Ending in a highly crushing loss for TACT in A77's debut as a TACT player, A77 sought a specific direction for TACT at that point, by having us seek out many different types of clans, both in positive and in negative taste again, that would be along our general level of gameplay at that time with the types of players that we had at said time, that would allow us a better or more suitable chance for victory rather than it just being a guaranteed loss. One specific occasion on note where working together with A77 at this point allowed me to see what his strong points truly were capable of. And this grew to be capture the flag beyond a reasonable doubt. And this grew over time. Approximately 1 month later, following Darkmount's clan battle, TFL-TUH alignment clan battle, and the unanswered clan battle from MOC, Masters of Cybertron, for considerably obvious reasons. The next series of events that would ensue is what opened the door. For in TAC's general direction, this was seen as a split, as his perspectives and ARG's perspectives had differed between how TAC views clan battles and how TAC organizes for clan battles, as we supposedly are highly sluggish or very slow to answer clan battles or to summon a lot of the people from our group in one time, as opposed to other groups where they can summon all of their best players or summon any number of players at any time or all of the sudden. As this understandable perspective was easily explained upon A7's entry into TAC, it would appear that in missing key aspects of the conversation in why there are people that play who don't fight, and there are people who play just to play, and then there are people who play just for the clan battles. There's a huge differentiation and a huge diversity of players that wish to be associated with the name tag but don't want to have to do with clan battles or would only like to join for some specific endeavor. This lack of an understanding between ARG and A77 led to a significant argument one day that led to a huge falling out when it was understood and misunderstood that half of the clan would not follow him as he had previously aforementionedly proposed, that the clan would be divided into two halves, one half that doesn't fight and one half that does fight. A77 had proposed an initiative where half of those that would fight would be supposedly led by him. In doing this mandate, it destroys the overall general regulation that TAC goes by having the no leadership system. So while ARG, Skull, and myself are seen as general leaders, we don't actually act as leaders or have the power of a leader. That power is given to the clan itself, not the people representing the clan, or the founders representing the clan, I should say. That is not for them to have. That is for the clan itself to have. And this very crucial element in knowledge was what was oversought both times. The first time being when this was initially brought up, which the three of us, me, Arg, and Skull, had contemplated upon, but was automatically shut down by the clan because it disrupts the general smooth flow of how TAC has been since it's established. And the second time itself when this was brought into play, when the clan itself had something against A77 for wanting to slowly divide up the group based off of one single perspective, rather than taking into consideration the perspective of everybody that's representing the group alongside you. Many holes in this mental solidarity were slowly exposed more over time, which led to an understandable disagreement that had continued between ARG and A77. One evening, The number of our players had decided to up and leave because there's a lot of other things that are happening in real life and school or college or a mix of all three for all that we do know. IRL concern is our priority. Decided to let them all go off the roster. A77 did fall into this category. And along with the rest of the other people leaving, so did he leave Tact at that time, officially. The door was open for him to rejoin at his leisure, so long as there wasn't any specific dramatic close to his run the first time. Then it is free to introduce a second run, pending any other extremities that may follow. Following that week of a lot of TAC players' departure, the seeds of these extremities had started to embed and bud, as it was discovered and brought to light that A77's farce about leaving to do IRL concerns at that time was folly, where rather than focusing on that, he instead turned his focus towards trying to build and compose his own clan. And while this is okay, the process in doing this and hiding it or trying to be sneaky about it were not well accepted with a lot of people, and it had heavily disappointed the representatives of Tact, as they were told one thing, but something completely different had shown in its place. Behind the scenes, amidst pending validarity of their own members being their own members and not having taken members from other clans respectively, or amidst confusion between a player playing for one clan and then others secretly playing for another clan. I do not know if this is true or if it was false or not, but the controversy did pend as it would with the initial members that came in to this gradually forming clan of gamers. At the same time, one Tyree Henry, aka TGA Savage Prime, had formally constructed his own group after having left Tact at that time, called Major League Gaming, or MLG, which was then renamed the Major League Guard. Now, the one evening that stuck with me over time as both of those groups' presences suddenly became known, this became somewhat after, the timing of this came not soon after the fall of ACW, was that the groups of MLG and A77's group, which was a group of 2 or 3 people at that time, consisting of A77, Tiger Keem, and I believe Skyline, and Tyree's group consisting of him, Blaze, God the Kid, and one other person. Blaze had left out at that time because it wasn't going anywhere, and then both groups had joined together in a sense, but something had happened that led to Tyree being kicked technically from his own clan, and it formed this one clan here, which was the new MLG, which was then renamed and retoned as C.E.G, or the Cybertronian Elite Guard, originally, and then pending name after that came the Cyber Elite Guard. This amalgamation of 2 individual groups now forming one clan sparked a really huge argument one night in Yule Chat between TGA Savage Prime and A77, because TGA had accused A77 of not only trying to take his members, but also take his clan and the clan tag and try to make it his own. Whether or not there is truth or fiction to this, I know not of, but I can only speak of the facts as they were stated at that time, and may potentially be held to this day by said people that were involved in the incident. It is understandable that TGA Savage Prime would be very, very upset about it, and to this day, it's still something that eats away at him somewhat, thinking about what it is that he had, and what he no longer has hold of. Anywho, and it was here that the start of Cyber Elite Guard would be concrete, thus the clan was born. The founder of said clan is, respectively, A77, or later on A77WJK King, and second in command, the goddess of destruction, God the Kid II. And from them to Skyline, Tiger King, the Dante, and Gotta Yell. It started with them. And from there, that's when this all came into play, when they had their very first clan battle in the history of the game. Which, at the same time, ironically enough, was also the same clan battle opener for ACW's return, which would be new ACW at that time. Respective leaders of ACW at the time of this battle were ACW Apex Primus, EO Marvinator, and ACW Prime, a.k.a. the Weeks. And it was here, upon this historically anticlimactic and highly heated, controversially needless clan battle, that sparked a double chain of events at the same time, in the same day, where C.E.G would rise as a clan for the very first time with its first win under its belt, and ACW would fall into centers and would eventually be destroyed due to the miscommunications and the lack of follow-through and presence thereof in commanding in that said clan battle. In a way, it can be easily argued that the ACW and C.E.G clan battle that was supposed to set into play a grand rise for both clans would instead cause a controversial collapse of both clans, as well as the collapse from all of the leaders that were involved in that match, and the possibility of corruption. And it's unfortunate that a difference in opinion and a difference on how one sees the rules would cause so much melancholy from such a good blessing that was supposed to have happened. But truth is the truth. The next three clan battles that would ensue after this were the initial stepping stones of how C.E.G's structure would be for their clan. And it was shown in the outline with ACW, New ACW as they call themselves, and the Unknown Hope, TFL second generation, led respectively by TUH Spidey, a.k.a. Jamaz, and TUH Cybermus, a.k.a. MP, and LSC, with LSC Ancient Truth and LSC Nosferatu, MZ and Torquinus respectively, for those who don't know. A huge amount of momentum from their battle with C.E.G and TUH sparked the huge capture the flag specialty that C.E.G is known best by. However, it grew to be a little more rebellious than need be in this regard, lining C.E.G as a main clan that does good with capture the flag. Its respective leader, A77, still felt as if there was something that he needed to prove. And there were, in the initial instances of the clan battles, where he was highly underestimated. And this underestimation fed heavily into the momentum that allowed him to advantageously capitalize in his initial clan battles. Be that against ACW, as they underestimated him, TUH underestimated him, and TACT had underestimated him. It's these groups initially that had underestimated him, or that thought little of him going into this line of work as his own commander for his own clan, based off of familiarity with said individual, and how his perspectives of how he feels a group should be run could potentially also be his group's downfall, if not its biggest flaw. Consider this. The counter-argument to this seeming fact of nature is the reason as to why A77 had constructed this group, which was a hidden truth known only by the few individuals involved with him initially. And this being that what fueled his wanting of a clan of his very own was the dissatisfaction that came from being in the Pride of Festoon and Tact equally, in how he felt his participation was either key or seen as a secondary notion, or out of mind, out of sight, or out of sight, out of mind type of view. As if his input didn't matter as much as it could have potentially meant. With this thought weighing on his contemplation and making a decision, in a sense, I guess you could say that a lie was told for a reason of self-satisfaction and possible self-worth, in order to establish and create something of your very own. It could be argued that the structure of everything that you have is based on a false truth, or in some cases beds out and brings in some type of positivity that is still based on a false truth, but it is neither here nor there. A key factor in this rushed decision, in a sense, was pending back to the argument that A77 and ARG had, where it was challenged in a sense that A77 couldn't make a clan for his own, couldn't do anything for himself, which is why in a sense he had leached off of stronger clans, quote unquote, or better players, in order to mask an alternative agenda. Whether or not this is truth or fiction, I know not. But that dissatisfaction and pending resentment, I guess, towards said individual would also stem the ambition to create and establish this clan of members that you wouldn't have to wait for to be online. You could apparently just summon them whenever it is that you would wish, and you can have a clan battle basically all day or any day that you so chose to. Not all clans have members or have that type of general continual activity all the time where members can be on right when you need them to, at the second you need them. But A77 apparently was able to find a way to make this happen, and so the demand of clan battles was a continual everyday thrill in order to further, in particular, personal ambitions, and to strive to be the best clan. If you can't be a part of the best clan, then you will make and build your own and have it become the best clan. This mindset was the driving force of C.E.G. A77's personal vendetta in that regard was directed at Tact originally, as it was Tact that he originally sought to beat, since it was a respective past clan that he was a part of, but had a resentment in tow for said founder of Tact. The continual nagging and persistent attitude of wanting a clan battle with the said individual clan sparked a general confrontation where Tact and C.E.G. had their first clan battle at A77's request, and Tact Jazz, or ARG's initial setup, where the whole battle outline would be to Tact's specifications that he would have to comply by after spammed messages to a point of pissing off the entire clan. Amidst more controversy that would inevitably ensue even in the debut match between those two participating parties, all of the odds would be defied by A77, and he would miraculously make his dream come true in successfully defeating Tact in a 0-3 straight flush. However, the dream only being met halfway, as when he went to challenge his home clan, Pride of Festoon, was initially met by his previous playing companions and was beaten in a 0-3 straight flush of their very own, ending in Pride of Festoon's win. The satisfaction became full and then half full, as the old saying is, the glass half full, as it was then brought to his attention in having defeated Tact that it wasn't Tact at its best. While his group was potentially at its best at that point, he had sought and heavily hunted a rematch against Tact with our strongest players at that time in order to have an actual well-fought and decisive match between the two to determine which of the two groups would truly be the victor in an all-out match. While an understandable request to ask, it is not so easy of a request to follow through on Tact's end, as it's already known by A77 that it does take time to have key members take part in a clan battle that you want to be there, that can give you an edge or an advantage in potentially standing a chance against said enemies. But this fact and truth was ignored or not taken as seriously as the continual spamming of said rematch was taken into effect. And at some point down the line, about a month or so later, the said rematch did ensue as both parties had wanted. In the said rematch that C.E.G had strongly requested from Tact, it was met by Tact's finest players at that time in order to advantageously meet the challenge that was to be met. And that was met by Rodimus86, Jamaz, AK-47 Dro, Tact Exotic, a.k.a. Sax, and EL Marvinator. To me, A77, Tiger Keem, Skyline, and the Dante. And here, what ensued was one of the most unpredicted Smash Mouth style clan battles that had ever happened between both parties, which was actually spared any type of controversial conflict. It was only endured by drama and whining. But I digress. In said match, it started off with both Capture the Flags, which were both respectively won by C.E.G. The following two matches were Conquest, which Tact, in an effort to having to systematically run the board in order to get the win back from the clutches of a loss, had ran the board and defied all the laws in order to structurally meet a tie game, as both Conquest matches were won in a comeback, in a straight comeback, thus forcing the tiebreaker decision in Team Deathmatch, with all the rules set in place by C.E.G, and the host being in Tact's favor, and the clan battle itself ending in Tact's unprecedented and most highly sought and most earned victory. And it was here where the merit of teamwork and communications lay the foundation of how a win and a loss can be decided in a game before you even step foot on the field. And it was where Tact's ambition and strive to want to do good, to do as good as it can and have fun, overruled C.E.G's ambition to merely win. This was seen by C.E.G's leader as he decided to take the loss and learn from what it is that went wrong and apply this in his own perspective and prerogatives to further advance the direction of C.E.G. This truth became a falsified contradiction or a folly, as the more clan battles that C.E.G would partake in or host or create, the more controversial they would be in illogical rulings or misplaced players or people from other teams that may be hiding behind alternative accounts or playing for alternative motives. all of which fall under controversial understandings, which further darkened the clean slate that this group would have potentially had. And this series of controversial clan battling would lead to a really highly hated or highly disliked group of players. They wouldn't so much dislike you, but it would just dislike the fact that you're a part of or associated directly with this group, with the amount of needless controversy that comes with doing something so incredibly straightforward, but is made difficult because of a difference in perspective. Strongly so. And in the last clan battle documented by C.E.G and LSC, this was brought to an attention by gunsmen about the direction of where their group is headed at the rate that they are going now. And this specific address, which was already brought to his attention by past people, suddenly had dwelled all of the sudden, and it forced A77 to think about the direction of where his group is going now, more so than in past points before we reached that point in time. And after having reached that point, and in taking into consideration a number of things that were happening in real life, he decided that it was finally time to hit the last couple of clan battles and then disband Cyber Elite Guard altogether. This is because one of the main stumbling blocks about being a group leader was reached, and it reached a pinnacle point very quickly, where you have to find a way to potentially juggle managing and taking care of all the people that play for you, in addition to IRL affairs, or do you want to cut one out altogether and see completely to the other one? And in doing this, he, in a sense, made the correct choice in ditching or leaving C.E.G be in order to focus on IRL affairs. The group's original run stopped around March to mid-April of 2017, I wish to say. So from June or July of 2016 to at latest April 2017 was the full run from establishment to disbanding of the Cyber Elite Guard. It was known at one point that GEF, or Global Elite Fighters, was supposed to be a sub-branch or a sub-division of C.E.G, or however that is, even though GEF is its own original clan originally that has more than enough members constantly coming in, but that's a story for another day, as it's a whole other controversial matter in itself that sparked at the beginning of 2017 that I will respectfully not go into because it does not directly correlate to the point of my subject. In my own opinion, for the finality of my piece in my documentary of this clan, I would just state that while it is good that a new clan can come whenever it is that it comes up, it's nice to see that, but at the same time, it is not appreciated or respected in some sense for there to be a continual disagreement or a difference in disposition, and you're not trying to meet another person or persons halfway on what it is that you do not see or what it is you don't see completely or have disregarded. And between disagreement in rules outline, misplaced ruling, misplaced judgment of a rule, item use in clan battles, and everything in between, it's been a number of controversial conclusions that can also weigh on a person's mind on both sides of the fence in wanting to partake in a match, or in wanting to set up a match, or even wanting to be representing the clan in such a sense. I'm trying to figure out a way on how I can be optimistic in my perspective. However, there is very, very little I can see that positively came from the existence of a clan such as this. However, that doesn't mean nor does it imply that the existence of C.E.G was a bad idea. It was not a bad idea. It was a good idea. Had good intentions going into it. It had good will-hearted members that were new to playing the game or new to being as a team that are now decently established players in their own right. And they have a sense of idea about teamwork, even if it may not have been completely explained or followed through upon in their own rights to improve in that manner. But it was all in good intentions. And with the run having been completed of this group, the Cyber Elite Guard, it can be mentioned or said that they can take that to their next group experiences and learn from the faults of what this group had and what may even have come or been exhibited from the commander of the group. I don't know. There are a number of many factors that lead to the ultimate conclusion in something being no more. Perhaps if the difference in opinion was understood earlier, and his perspective, while very different and risky or immature or not completely assessed or collected, then perhaps the end result could have been different, or the complete disposition of this group's existence could have differed, and it wouldn't have been as controversially made as it was eventually implied over time. And it leaves you wondering that question from the very beginning. What led to the idea being sparked?